What do you get when you mix Georgia, Spain, and a knockout punch? Meet Ilia Topuria, our topic today.
Hey everyone, I'm Leah, feeling super excited to dive into today's topic.
And I'm Garrett, equally pumped for this conversation. Welcome to Laid Back Learning with Leah and Garrett.
Today, we're uncovering the story of Ilia Topuria, a standout in mixed martial arts, and his remarkable journey through the UFC. Okay, here we go, from the top. I once went to a local MMA show with a friend who trains jiu-jitsu. I was kind of on the fence about the whole thing. I pictured chaos and bruises, not much else. But once I sat there and watched, I was surprised by how much strategy I could actually see. The timing felt like chess with consequences. I remember a fighter setting up a takedown by tapping at the body first, then changing levels. It clicked that this is not wild, it's calculated. The crowd would swell on tiny adjustments like a foot angle or a hand feint, and I started leaning forward in my seat. By the end of the card, I was Googling techniques, trying to figure out what a triangle choke even was. That night kind of opened the door for me to follow the sport more closely, and that's how I found Ilia Topuria. He stood out because he looked so composed. He wasn't forcing anything. He'd defend, shift his feet, then land something clean. Real talk, I went from skeptical to deeply impressed with the craft.
That's pretty cool, right? The first time you see the patterns, it's hard to unsee them. You realize it's a bunch of different arts stitched together, and when someone like Topuria makes it look smooth, it's kind of mesmerizing. Let's dive right in. Mixed martial arts, or MMA, is a full-contact sport that blends striking and grappling from places like boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or BJJ, is the ground game that focuses on control and submissions, like chokes and joint locks. The whole idea of MMA is you can use the best tool for the job at any moment. So fights can start on the feet and end on the mat, or vice versa. It's like having a multi-tool instead of a single wrench.
And Ilia Topuria is a dual national athlete, Georgian and Spanish, who rose fast in the UFC. The UFC is the top MMA organization globally. He started with a strong grappling base, then built a sharp, boxing-heavy striking style. He first made waves at featherweight, 145 pounds, and later moved up to lightweight, 155 pounds. Different weight classes keep things fair size-wise, kind of like divisions in college wrestling or weight categories in boxing.
All right, let's set the stage for his early life. Ilia was born in 1997 in Halle, Germany, to Georgian parents who were refugees from Abkhazia. That displacement shaped a lot of his identity. He later moved to Georgia as a kid, then to Spain as a teen. That cross-country upbringing shows up in how adaptable he is, both in life and in fighting.
In Georgia, he started Greco-Roman wrestling around age 7. Greco-Roman is a wrestling style that emphasizes upper body control, throws, and clinches. That early mat time is huge. It gives you balance and a sense for where a body wants to go. It's like learning the grammar of grappling before writing essays with submissions later.
Then as a teenager, he moved to Alicante, Spain, and trained at the Clement Gym, which is a known MMA and BJJ base there. That's where his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu foundation got serious, and he slowly added polished striking. That Spanish chapter becomes the anchor of his training life.
By 2015, he turned pro on the Spanish regional scene, racking up quick submissions and winning the mixed fight event's featherweight title, a key regional proving ground that helped him break out.
In 2018, he traveled to Finland for Cage 43, an event run by the Finnish promotion called Cage. He beat Mika Hämäläinen with a guillotine choke in the first round, and that showed the skill travels. It's not just a hometown thing.
In 2018, he and his older brother Alexander, who goes by Alex Topuria, earned their BJJ black belts. A black belt means you've put in serious years on the mat. It's mastery level in the BJJ world, and it signaled the family's grappling pedigree.
Also in 2018, he fought for a Cage Warriors title in Belgium. Cage Warriors is a respected European MMA promotion. He faced Brian Bouland, a tough local contender, won by Anaconda choke, but he missed weight, so he couldn't take the belt. That's an early sign that cutting too low could be a long-term issue.
In 2019, he signed with Brave Combat Federation, or Brave CF, which runs events all over. That put him in front of a wider audience and more varied opponents, the kind you need to sharpen all areas.
His Brave debut was in Colombia against Luis Gomez, a tested opponent on that circuit. Ilia won with a triangle straight armbar, which is a creative combo submission, in just over a minute and earned best performance of the night. That's flair plus fundamentals.
Then, at Brave CF 29 in Bahrain, he knocked out Steven Goncalves in the first round. You could see that his striking was catching up to his grappling, and that balance is what makes him special later in the UFC.
By late 2020, he got the UFC call on short notice and fought Youssef Zalal, a well-rounded UFC featherweight, winning a composed, unanimous decision. Short notice wins tell you a lot about readiness and discipline.
He follows that with a knockout of Damon Jackson, a veteran UFC featherweight known for scrambles, and suddenly the buzz starts building. 2 fights in 2 months, and he looks clean doing it.
In 2021, he faces Ryan Hall, the leg lock specialist in the UFC, who's notorious for tricky ground entries. Ilia neutralized all of that and got a first-round KO. Beating a specialist without getting drawn into their web is a big sign of fight IQ, which just means smart decision-making under pressure.
Early 2022, he was set for Movsar Evloev, an undefeated Russian wrestler at the time, and a real test at featherweight. Evloev withdrew, Charles Jourdain, a dynamic Canadian striker, stepped in, then Ilia had a medical issue tied to the weight cut, and the bout fell apart. That's our first hard clue that 145 pounds was taxing his body.
A couple months later, he fights at lightweight against Jai Herbert, a tall British striker, in London. He actually gets dropped by a head kick, then rallies and knocks Herbert out in round 2, earning performance of the night. That comeback showed he could handle bigger-framed opponents at 155 and still carry power late.
Then in December 2022, he meets Bryce Mitchell, a top American grappler, and Ilia taps him with an arm triangle choke, another performance of the night. That was a reminder that his BJJ black belt is not just a footnote, it's real leverage in big fights.
In mid-2023, he headlines against Josh Emmett, a heavy-handed American contender. Over 5 rounds, Ilia shows that shoulder roll defense, which is a boxing technique where you turn the shoulder to deflect punches, and he counters clean. He wins a wide decision and gets fight of the night. That was the title shot performance.
A scheduling curveball hits in October 2023 when Alexander Volkanovski, the long-reigning Australian featherweight champion, takes a short-notice fight up a division with Islam Makhachev, the dominant Dagestani champion he faced at lightweight. Volkanovski is knocked out, which shifts Ilia's title shot to early 2024. The delay ramps up the intrigue. Could Volk bounce back quickly from a knockout?
In February 2024 in Anaheim, Ilia knocks out Volkanovski in round 2 to win the UFC featherweight title. That made him the first Georgian and the first Spanish UFC champion and earned performance of the night. That's a career maker and a culture shifter moment all at once.
And stylistically, he's been open about drawing from Mexican boxing, especially Canelo Alvarez. You see it in the bodywork, the compact guard, and counters. He uses footwork to set angles, then lands short, crisp shots with serious leverage. It's patience with bite. 8 months later, in October 2024, he defends against Max Holloway, the Hawaiian former champion known for unreal durability and volume. Ilia knocks him out in round 3. That was Holloway's first knockout loss ever, and it stamped Ilia's reign as the real deal.
In March 2024, he's granted Spanish citizenship, formalizing his dual national status. A little later, he's awarded the Order of Honor in Georgia, with the Prime Minister confirming he retains Georgian citizenship. That double recognition shows how much pride both countries took in his title win.
By February 2025, the cut to featherweight is too much. Dana White, the UFC president, says the featherweight belt will be vacated, and Ilia is moving up for good. It's health, competition, and legacy all pointing toward lightweight.
In June 2025 in Las Vegas, he fights Charles Oliveira, the Brazilian former lightweight champion with a reputation for grit and submissions. Ilia knocks him out in 2 minutes and 27 seconds to win the vacant lightweight title, earning performance of the night. That made him a UFC champion in 2 divisions, and he was briefly promoted to number 1 in the pound-for-pound rankings. Pound for pound is just a way to compare fighters across all weights, like asking who's best if size didn't matter.
Later in 2025, the rankings shuffle when Islam Makhachev picks up a welterweight title and retakes that pound-for-pound number 1 spot. Lists move fast when champions keep stacking achievements. Ilia stayed at or near the top through that period.
On the personal side, his relationship with former spouse Georgina Uskadegi ended in 2025, and a divorce filing followed later that year. He announced he wouldn't compete in early 2026 for personal reasons. Life outside the cage can be heavy, and he pressed pause to handle that.
In January 2026, he appeared before a Spanish court that handles cases of violence against women after a complaint. He publicly refuted the claims and framed it as a family and administrative matter about his daughter's travel. Reporting at the time did not confirm criminal findings in the record we're drawing from. It's one of those situations where clarity can take time, and we stick to what's documented.
In June 2026, Washington, D.C., he fights Justin Gaethje, the American interim lightweight champion known for pressure and leg kicks. Ilia's corner stops the fight after round 4. A corner stoppage means your own team ends it to protect you. It was his first professional loss, and the bout still earned fight of the night. Tough night, but a smart, safety-first call by his coaches.
Zooming out, he's tied for the most consecutive UFC fights with at least 1 knockdown landed, 7 in a row, and he's earned multiple Performance of the Night bonuses, plus a couple Fight of the Nights. He's trained with Merab Dvalishvili, the former UFC bantamweight champion from Georgia, who has praised Ilia's power and grappling. He's multilingual, speaks Georgian, Spanish, English, and some Mingrelia, and he's identified as Christian without making it a promotional focal point.
And the skill blend is the big headline. Boxing-heavy offense layered on top of BJJ black belt defense. He angles off the center line, sets traps, keeps his stance disciplined to stay takedown aware, and uses that shoulder roll to dull power shots. Then he counters with tight hooks and a sharp right hand. It's efficient, it's patient, and when the window opens, it's brutal.
Here's something to get us started on a big question. There's a debate about whether Ilia counts as the first undefeated 2-division UFC champion. On paper, he won titles at featherweight and lightweight without a loss up to that lightweight coronation. But the criteria can get murky. Does 2-division champion mean you have to hold both belts at the same time, or is it enough to win them sequentially while undefeated?
I'm down for the sequential read. He won the featherweight title, then later won the lightweight title, and at the moment he grabbed that second belt, he was still unbeaten. In the UFC context, that's unprecedented. Previous double champs had losses on their record before they collected a second belt. So if the question is, did a UFC fighter win titles in 2 different divisions while still undefeated up to that moment? I'd say yes, he did.
I hear that. I guess my cautious side asks about other organizations and definitions. Some folks weigh simultaneous double champ status more heavily, meaning you're actively holding 2 belts at once. Others bring up whether a vacant title, like the Oliveira fight, changes the shine compared to beating a sitting champion. None of that erases the achievement, but it can shift the label from definitive to, debated.
Totally fair. Simultaneous is a higher bar, and he vacated featherweight before he captured lightweight. But if we define 2-division champion as someone who has been champion in 2 divisions, and we add the qualifier that he had no losses before the second coronation, then he fits that bill cleanly in the UFC record books. Different lenses, same mountain, kind of.
Let's unpack this. Maybe the balanced phrasing is that he became a 2-division UFC champion while still undefeated at the time he achieved it, which some interpret as a first in UFC history. That keeps the door open for people who require simultaneous belts or weigh non-UFC histories differently, but still honors what he pulled off.
Yeah, that checks out. However you slice the semantics, it was rare air. The performances that got him there, those speak loudest.
On the pop culture side, he received the Order of Honor in Georgia, which is a national award, and he swept a bunch of year-end accolades in 2024 across major MMA outlets. That's mainstream validation. I can totally see a documentary tracing Germany to Georgia to Spain, with family roots and that championship run anchoring the story.
Picture it, multilingual pressers, training in Alicante, national ceremonies in Tbilisi, and then the Vegas Thunderbolt against Oliveira. That arc writes itself, and it highlights how sport can bridge cultures. Here's a thought I've been turning over. What if Alexander Volkanovski never took that short-notice fight with Islam Makhachev in October 2023? If he stayed at featherweight and Ilia fought him earlier, maybe January instead of February, the narrative changes. No quick turnaround from a knockout to color the build. Maybe the betting lines and the pre-fight questions look different.
That's fascinating. Without the short-notice knockout on Volkanovski's record, there's less talk about recovery windows and more focus on pure matchup. Ilia still gets all that extra prep time if the schedule lines up, but maybe not quite as much. The rhythm of camp matters. Tiny timing shifts can echo in a fight. Would Ilia still land that perfect counter? Probably, but I can't help wondering if the delayed date actually heightened his confidence and patience.
And public perception too. If Volk hasn't just been stopped at lightweight, fans might frame him as even more invincible at 145. The upset talk versus Ilia might have been louder. Or maybe Ilia's boxing traps still spring the same way, and it becomes an even bigger shock. It's wild how one short-notice decision can ripple through two divisions and the storylines we tell.
Either way, Ilia's achievements stand tall. But yeah, in that alternate path, the headlines could read differently, and the debates about momentum and timing might fade. It's a reminder that greatness happens inside the cage and in the calendar around it.
Thanks for joining us on this journey through the world of Ilia Topuria.
Stay curious and keep exploring with us on Laid Back Learning. Until next time,